Automotive history is just full of some really wild ideas, but this one might take the cake. What about a car powered by its own miniature nuclear reactor? Yep, let's talk about the Ford Nucleon, a concept car that seriously promised to change everything.
I mean, seriously, just stop and think about that for a second. What if your car could go 5,000 miles on a single charge? No gas stations, no plugging in on a long road trip, just 5,000 miles of pure, uninterrupted driving. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it?
Well, believe it or not, back in 1958, Ford actually had an atomic answer to that very question. They unveiled this concept car called the Nucleon. And really, it was the perfect symbol for an era when the future wasn't just seen as bright, it was seen as atomic. So yeah, let's dive in. Let's head back to the heart of the nuclear age.
Okay, so it's really hard to overstate just how obsessed the 1950s were with all things nuclear. I mean, it was the miracle technology. It promised clean, basically limitless energy for everything, from powering entire cities to, you guessed it, cars. And Ford, they absolutely wanted to be leading the charge on that atomic dream. And if you're thinking, that sounds a little familiar, you're right. It's kind of like the hype we see around AI today, right? Back in the 50s, nuclear was the buzzword. It was the magic dust. Companies were just slapping an atomic label on pretty much everything to make it sound futuristic and cool. And the car industry, they were no exception. So, what was the huge appeal here? Why this obsession? Well, a nuclear-powered car just perfectly captured that wild, can-do optimism of the post-war era. It was like the future, delivered right to your driveway. It really represented this deep belief that science and engineering could solve literally any problem and create this perfect, almost automated world.
And when you look at it on paper, the advantages they were mind-blowing. For one, you've got this near limitless source of energy. And get this, even back then, people were starting to talk about CO2, so a car with zero emissions, that felt like a total silver bullet. But, beyond all the practical stuff, it was really about the image. As one source put it so well, fossil fuels just weren't sexy anymore. Nuclear power, now that was sexy.
And this is the number that really grabbed all the headlines: 5,000 miles. I mean, just think about that for a second, especially compared to those huge gas-guzzling V8s from the 50s. This was promising a level of freedom that, let's be honest, we still haven't quite achieved today. So what was this brilliant, futuristic science that was supposed to make it all happen?
Okay, spoiler alert, the car was never actually built. But this wasn't just some fantasy doodle on a napkin. No, Ford's engineers had a pretty clear idea of how the mechanics would work. They had a whole plan to stick a nuclear reactor right there in your trunk. So the concept, at least in theory, was pretty straightforward. You've got this compact reactor in the back of the car. It uses uranium fission, splitting atoms, to create an insane amount of heat. That heat boils water, turns it into high-pressure steam, and that steam spins a turbine that drives the wheels. It's basically the same principle we use in massive nuclear power plants today, just, supposedly shrunk down to fit in a car. Simple, right? Well, yeah, as you've probably guessed by now, this is where the dream met a big, hard wall of reality. The concept was absolutely amazing on paper, but it ran into some, let's call them massive, show-stopping problems that kept the Nucleon locked away in the world of imagination. And we're not talking about small problems. We're talking fundamental, this can never happen kind of problems. I mean, besides the obvious and frankly terrifying safety risks, there was a simple fact that the technology just didn't exist. Not even close. It was pure science fiction. I love this quote from one of the sources because it really just says it all. It reads, "At worst, a crash could cause a miniature nuclear explosion, which is something most want to avoid." I mean, yeah, you think? The safety concerns were just absurd when you think about them. A little fender bender could turn into a localized radiation event. A big crash on the highway? A genuine catastrophe. You're not just dealing with a car accident anymore. You're talking about a potential meltdown. And really, that was the nail in the coffin. The physics of it all just didn't work. To properly shield the passengers from all that radiation, the reactor would have to be so massive and heavy, but the car wouldn't even be able to move. So in the end, the Nucleon wasn't really a serious prototype. It was more like a brilliant piece of advertising. a way to show the world just how futuristic and forward-thinking Ford could be. So does that mean the Nucleon is just some silly footnote in automotive history? I don't think so, not at all. The best way to see it isn't as a failure, but as this incredibly bold what if. It's something that totally captured the public's imagination and really showcased the sheer ambition of that era. Its real legacy, I think, is just in its sheer audacity. The Nucleon is a symbol of a time when engineers were really encouraged to think big, like impossibly big. And that exact same spirit, that same what if we could attitude, that's what's driving the breakthroughs we're seeing right now in electric vehicles and next-gen batteries. And that kind of leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? Back in 1958, the Ford Nucleon absolutely seemed like the future. It really makes you wonder, when we look at all the futuristic technologies we're getting so excited about today, which ones are the real deal, and which ones are just the Ford Nucleons of our time?